With both HBO Max's Looney Tunes cartoons and Bugs Bunny Builders having concluded their series finales, we are going to use this time to discuss some pupils of interest and the play on words that the gag associated within alludes to. So, of course, you realize this means podcast.
Are you ready, eager young space cadets?
Meep, meep.
I saw a pussy cat.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Hello and welcome to Of Course You Realize This Means Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Graves, and in a minute I will be joined by one of my favorite guests to have on the show, the Tooney Tenor. Manny will join me to discuss some of the gag work associated with Pupils on display, a true visual gag. But before that, I wanted to just chat with you for a minute because we are now entering an area that Looney Tunes fans are all too familiar with, not having a show to look forward to. And what are we going to do? Well, there are some people that I want to point out who I would actually like to see get behind the Looney Tunes. But before we do that, I wanted to make note that we have Space Jam coming out on May 20th to AMC theaters. Be sure to get your tickets before they're gone. And Looney Tunes cartoons, the full series from HBO Max, drops on May 19th. So if you're listening to this on the day it drops, this is actually going to be next Tuesday. So get your pre-orders in. And it's listed on Amazon right now for $24.96, and it's 6 discs. That equates to $4.16 per disc. What a deal. I mean, what a loony deal. You cannot get better than that. And that's 1,000 minutes of Looney Tunes cartoons. Give or take, those shorts that we didn't get to see, which I'm still a little bit salty about. But this also includes some features, which are the interviews with the Olympians, thanks to the Wabbit model they used from New Looney Tunes. And Eric Bauza was doing the voice for Bugs there as well. So you get more Bugs. And if you like his Bugs, then I think you're also going to like what we get later on in the year, which is Coyote versus Acme. That's coming out at the end of August. And yeah, are we living in a Lunaissance? I don't know. You tell me, dear listener. But here we are. And I wanted to just have a chat with you. I want to hear what you have to say in the comments about this, but I feel that the next step should be, if WB isn't going to hire Pete and company back to do more Looney Tunes cartoons, I say do a newer version under a new showrunner who loves the cartoons, like the Patty Freeling era, but, good. And use the relationships that were created between the characters from the late 40s onward. I think that there's a lot of potential there. And I saw that they were, jumping around a little bit with The Day the Earth Blew Up and the asides to the audience, the way that they played with the fourth wall breaks, the Chuck Jones-isms. And I feel like had they been given the opportunity to continue what they were doing, we could have seen a huge resurgence of people going, oh my God, like that's the cartoons of my childhood just redone for modern day. Instead of they were pulling from a bit of a older generation of Looney Tunes. And so melding the two, I thought, would have been a match made in heaven. But here we are, and there's nothing on the docket for them to come back. It's very unfortunate, as I was a huge fan of what they were doing, and I felt that they had a lot of steam behind them. Now, I don't want to say anybody should be replaced, because I don't want that. What I'm saying is, if they are not coming back and they choose not to come back for whatever reason, or Warner Brothers changes their minds, then here are some top choices that were featured in multiple years of animators and people in animation to watch over at Animation Magazine. First one is going to be David Chung. He's the art director from Bugs Bunny Builders, as well as Gabby's Dollhouse. He mainly works with DreamWorks, and he has an upcoming horror series. And I think that horror and the overall storytelling that can be done within that medium translates really well to limited budget animation, as you can see with what he was able to do with Bugs Bunny Builders. And even Gabby's Dollhouse has minimal animation outside of the live action elements. I think that's a really good fit as a showrunner, somebody who can come in and produce new Looney Tunes. I think that would be really cool. We also have Luis Gueda, who was a visual development artist who also worked on Bugs Bunny Builders. And he has his own personal projects blending animation and still photography. I think that he has a really good eye for what works. I would love for him to be involved in a future version of Looney Tunes, whatever that may look like. And yeah, I think that the crew, the talented crew that they had with Looney Tunes cartoons, they really had an appreciation for what came before, and I would want that to carry on moving forward. And even the people behind Bugs Bunny Builders, I mean, even Abe Oudish, who came over from working on things like Powerpuff Girls, Rise of the TMNT, and We Bare Bears. I mean, all that to say is that there's a lot of talent in the talent pool over at Warner Brothers right now, and I feel like they have a lot of great people to choose from if they were to continue a series like that. Now, on the other side of things, you have Natasha Klein, who is working on Big City Greens and Primos by Disney, which just got canceled, by the way. Phenomenal TV show. But she showed a lot of potential in the way of slapstick comedy. And this was done through her storyboards. She is a story editor, and I feel like her sensibilities are really strong in that way as well. And then going back to Warner Brothers real quick, we had Scott Marder, who is also on my list. He is the current Rick and Morty showrunner and producer. I feel like that type of show illustrates a longevity that could be also brought into the franchise if they were to, I guess, spice things up a bit, but also keep things familiar. That's what he's been doing ever since they changed it up around 2020. And then I also wanted to mention Pramita Mukherjee. She was a senior character effects development artist over on DreamWorks' Bad Guys 2. There's a lot of Looney Tunesisms in that work. And she's been working in the animation world for well over 10 years. And last but not least, Vivian Medrano, who has created the Hellverse. I mean, this is Has Been Hotel, a hell of a boss. She has the slapstick timing down, and she's already had a photo presented online that she met with Warner Brothers over developing something. And I am super thrilled about that because she integrates music along with her shows in a really unique capacity. Yes, it's raunchy. Yes, it's, not for kids, but it is getting eyeballs on it. It is exciting people, and it's with Amazon. And so I feel like there's a lot of animators there. Also, Michael Rucco has done work with the Hellverse. He's done some of the short form content over there. And Michael Rucco, friend of the podcast, Michael Rucco, who also did Beaky Buzzard on Looney Tunes cartoons, as well as an animator on many of the shorts, as well as the film The Day the Earth Blew Up. Now, all of those top choices by myself personally have listed Looney Tunes as their inspiration or as a inspiration. And I feel that only somebody who goes out of their way to name drop Looney Tunes in an interview where you're talking about your career and you haven't worked on Looney Tunes, I think that's a really strong indicator that that is somebody who should be writing or animating or producing stories with a rabbit, a duck, a pig, and a bird, and a cat, and a coyote, and a roadrunner. The list goes on. But I would love if not any of these choices, I would love there to be new content with a very passionate, very well educated animation aficionado behind the next series, like we had with Pete Brownguard and Alex Kerwan. And I really just, I give all the praise to Warner Brothers for giving us that. And I will be for sure picking up that Blu-ray on May 19th. Now, what I thought would be really fun to talk about on this episode in particular was one of the visual gags that Looney Tunes is known for, which is crafting a character moment where the visual that they're looking at becomes their pupil. This is done in a lot of media and has been inspired by Looney Tunes in other things, which we will discuss. But an example of this would be when Daffy is very excited about playing basketball with Michael Jordan, and he sees his pupils become a basketball hoop, and the ball goes, and his pupil goes through the hoop. I just think that type of humor and that visual reference is a really strong animation technique that I wish was done more. But let's have Manny come on and talk about it more. So here's the Tooney Tenor and myself talking about pupils of interest. What is up, party people? What's up, Manny?
Hi. I like the dramatic pause. Like, what's up, party people? And scene,
How are you doing?
hanging
Yeah.
in there,
Surviving.
thriving on this lovely mid May. I was gonna say day, but it's night it's night for both of us. But yeah, happy birthday, Stevie Wonder. It's actually, we're recording this May 13th, his birthday.
No way.
He's one of my musical heroes, 76. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, same here. We both have a love for that album that has a allusion to possible Looney Tune influence.
Oh, Songs in the Key of Life.
Yeah, Songs in the Key of Life. Thank you.
Yes, it's arguably his best album, and I have a copy right over in the other room.
I know you do. I have a copy somewhere as well. After the move, I have no idea where any of our records are. But they're somewhere.
Yeah, in my heart.
Yeah, that's where they should. That's where they should be living. Before we get into some Looney Tune talk, I wanted to give a quick intro into a giveaway that I'm doing thanks to Warner Brothers and Mortal Kombat 2. Johnny Cage sunglasses. He was not only a standout in the movie, he was a standout for his apparel. And those sunglasses could be yours. You can go to our YouTube /This Means Podcast to check them out. And I will be doing a fun little giveaway. This is to all US podcast listeners. Just go into the comments of this podcast, this one right here that you're listening to, and find the promo photo that I've uploaded to the Instagram and type out 2 of the 3 in-universe Johnny Cage movies for your chance to win. Anyone who enters will then be added to a pool of names that will be run through a randomizer, and a winner will be chosen. Just like in Mortal Kombat, you may be chosen. And then you can I will contact you through DM, and we can get those glasses to you. And be sure to tag friends and let them know that they could also be sporting a pair of Johnny Cage sunglasses, because who doesn't want some?
I think I want a pair now myself. I still haven't seen the. I saw the first one. Well, the more recent one from a few years ago.
95 one, you mean?
Well, so it's funny. I did not like Mortal Kombat as a kid. I was a big scaredy cat. The games freaked me out.
Okay.
And but
get over here.
Yeah, oh, dude, like I remember going to, my brother used to be a baseball player. And he went to the batting cage, and near the exit of the batting cage was one of the arcade cabinets, where I think it was like either Mortal Kombat 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like this, like, because you see like in the demo mode when he gets punched and he falls into the pike pit or whatever. And my brother's just like, look at it. I'm like, no, leave me alone. So shout out to my older brother Carlos for being mean. And but the film itself, I never saw it until a few years ago. Another shout out to my friend Frankie, a good friend of mine. He's not far from me. He's in San Diego now. He's a Jersey boy originally,
Nice. Shout out
and
Frankie.
yep, and he loves like the first film. So I saw it with him about 2 years ago when I was crashing at his place. I think around the time I went to San Diego Comic-Con. So thank you again.
Thank you
And
for taking it on and going in our behalf.
I appreciate it. And we saw that, and then we saw the most recent one from a few years ago. And
Nice.
like it's a bummer because like there's a lot of films that I've never seen, that, films that we grew up with, and I know about them through cultural osmosis and references and whatnot. Like people assume like, oh yeah, you remember this part. I'm like, I know what you're talking about, but I never saw it because I almost never went to the movies. We almost never rented films. Thanks, Dad.
It's all
But
good. All good.
I
Many more things to explore in the adult life.
that's true, and I did I made up that lost time by, of course, watching lots of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies on Nickelodeon and ABC 7 here in the New York City area,
And thanks to Ted Turner, Cartoon Network, and
of
TNT.
course TNT, TBS, and rest in peace, Ted Turner. As a fan of both Warner Brothers cartoons and professional wrestling, he did a lot for both industries. So thank you for that.
Yeah, same. We had a whole episode. One of our last episodes was dedicated just to Ted Turner. So, yeah, shout out to his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of watching Looney Tunes, we are going to explore one of the visual gags that has stood out over the test of time, and I think is unique to only Looney Tune cartoons. It might happen in SpongeBob or things that are influenced by Looney Tunes, but it definitely started with Looney Tunes. And that is the visual gag of a character seeing something that they want or seeing a character go through an action and it being portrayed in their pupils. So this includes a bevy of shorts as well as some of the features. I think it's taken place in most every feature. I don't think there was an example of it in Space Jam 2: A New Legacy, but I think everything else had one or two homages to this. Now, what we're talking about can first be seen in, and Manny, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 1942 short, My Favorite Duck, directed by Chuck Jones.
Indeed. So, before we jumped on the podcast, Jonathan was explaining to me about this. I was like, a visual gag. I goes, yeah, I know what a visual gag is, Kurt. But then, like, elaborating a little bit more and then showing me examples. I'm like, oh, he means literally a visual gag, or
a
like
visual gag.
You might as well put visual in all caps and bold. Like it's literally a visual gag. Yeah, I know. No, dude, like hear me out. Literally, we're using your eyes and vision, and you said scene, and I was like, look at this guy. He's just throwing puns and wordplay all throughout this whole thing. But I mean, what a way to start off, especially with because when you sent me the picture, I was like, this it was and you'll probably splice in some footage or whatever, or a still of it, of like you see Daffy's eyes and you see someone falling. I was like, who is that? And then you mentioned the short, and then I went and rewatched the clip in context, and I was like, man, I forgot how funny this cartoon is.
Oh, that's Philagadoosia. I'll never make a fire with these. I better get a good old match.
Everybody talks about like the draft horse and and the Dover boys being like the point where Jones finally clicked. And I don't remember where My Favorite Duck falls in the timeline right now off the top of my head, but it's just like, man, it's just like leading up to it, like when Porky's like gets blown up and he says, "Oh, the Philagadoosia," and I'm like, we in 2026 we have to bring back that word.
Bringing it back, Philagadoosia.
and as we both said, just before he falls, and then you see the visual. Oh, here the camera's.
Well,
here.
right before that
visual gag.
Right before that, we got to talk about Porky leaping over the log.
Yes, the hop, the greatest hop I've ever seen in my 38 years of existence. I just love how. I wish some of my buddies like Devin Baxter and Austin Kelly, like these guys are great at identifying, and Thad Komorowski are awesome at like identifying animators. I'm like, man, I wish I had that talent, because I'm like, I want to know who specifically drew that scene. So,
it's a great scene.
So
and
good.
The comedy just leaps off the screen. I mean, from the gag of Daffy, lighting the dynamite, and you're like, what's going to happen to the entire explosion? And then Porky not even being aware that he's in the air, and his entire campsite has been uplifted into the clouds, and then he's just going about his day.
Oh, Philagadusha.
And then he goes over to the tent and just falls. And you cut to Daffy watching him fall, looking up. And then you cut in closer, and his pupils turn into Porky's body, just falling from the top of his eyelids all the way down. And smash. And you just get that, hard bounce. That is such visual storytelling that you can expect from a talented master like Chuck Jones. And it just goes to show that these are unmatched. So, yeah, this might have been the first one. And then right after that, we had the 1943 Tashlin short, which you were excited to include in this, which has another visual gag like this.
So yes, he's referring to the Frank Tashlin, as I always like to say on my buddy Anthony's animation talk. Whenever I bring him up, as like my fellow Jersey boy, born in Weehawken, New Jersey, Frank Tashlin, and arguably one of his masterpieces, and arguably one of the best shorts in the entire Warner Brothers canon. Porky Pig's Feet, one of the last black and white shorts that the studio released, and like when you sent me the stills, I'm like, I know exactly what the scene is. Arguably one of the best, probably the best scene in the cartoon, when the manager of the Broken Arms Hotel is trying to break down the door, and Daffy and Porky literally pull the rug underneath him. And what I do to be in the room to hear Mel Blanc when he was recording those yells and screams.
Oh, ouch! Oh, ow! Ow! Oh, ow! Oh, ah! Oh, ah! Oh, ah! Oh, oh, ouch! 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 Oh, oh, ouch! Oh, 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 oh.
When the manager is falling down the stairs, and that's when I'll do it again. The visual gag appears of the manager. He's bouncing, he's falling down the stairs, and he goes, I think originally, like, he goes through Porky's left eye, then his right eye again through his pupils, and then it goes through Daffy, and then finally the impact of the when he finally lands to the ground.
And then Daffy's like, "Oh, we got time. We're gonna like exit the scene," and then immediately he's up the stairs and right next to them, and they're frozen. Yeah, it is a phenomenal piece of animation. But yeah, just the idea for Tashlin to maybe see what Chuck was doing and then implement it into his work. I know they were all working in the same kind of building and under tense pressure, but that visual gag carried over from one director to another immediately. It wasn't like one director just stuck, like kept putting in his work. It transitioned from director to director, and it became a staple of the Looney Tunes in such a fun way. But to Manny's point, this was comedy like gold. Continuing with comedy gold, Daffy Dilly from 1948 and You Were Never Ducky are from 1948. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were both of these directed by Chuck, or was Daffy Dilly directed by somebody else?
They're both Chuck cartoons.
They're both Chuck cartoons. Okay. So Chuck, once again, taking the reins of a Daffy-centric short, and both are elevated because of the visual gag here and the work with the eyeballs, the work with the pupils. You have Daffy Dilly, and this is in the both of these are in the transition of wacky Daffy going into the greedy Daffy, and this is where you get a showcase of Daffy seeing dollar signs and his pupils turn into dollar signs. Such a great reference visually. But yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, actually. This is it was such a clever use of that transformed character animation. And I mean, you literally see in Daffy Dilly his eyes bulging out and turning into dollar signs. Like, I am definitely going for the money here. Yeah, like what stood out to you for this short?
I mean, that gag in itself, just because I guess now we take for granted, because we've seen it so many times in like homages to animation, when, you see the character's eyes bulging out, and obviously you can't deny the influence of Tex Avery as well. Like,
Oh,
especially
definitely.
when he went to MGM, when like characters' eyes are bulging out. Like I'm thinking of, for example, Dumbhounded. I think that's the first Droopy cartoon from 1943. When the wolf sees him in the movie theater, and it's just eyes, it's that
Oh,
huge
yes.
cake, and you could say that's like a cousin of the visual gag that we're
Yes.
talking about, but nothing specifically in the eyelids. And then I'm thinking too, because I recently bought it a few months ago, the Arrow video release of The Mask on 4K. And now obviously how that film is just a big love letter to this era of animation. And
Yes. MGM and Looney Tunes alike.
yeah, it's just great. And now another one I just thought of, that you were like, oh, think of some more examples, but there were, I don't know if it specifically did things in the eye. Well, they literally transform into a huge eye, but I forgot what episode it is. But in Tiny Toon Adventures, there was an
Oh,
episode where Plucky
Manny, you'll be delighted to know that that one is called A Sight for Sore Eyes, appropriately named.
literally turns into an eyeball and he's stuck.
You got stuck in the lamp pit, Cornel.
Big deal. What of it?
Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?
He's trying to master the gag. He's like, oh, okay, I got to turn back now, and he can't do it. So I don't know if you thought like that one just popped in my head right now, but I guess in the similar vein of what we're talking about. And
Yeah,
one
Tiny
other,
Toon gags are definitely like they looked at what came before and elevated
Mhm.
them and utilized them as well as the Looney Tune cartoons did in the 2020s, which we're going to talk about a little bit because they brought the visual gag over
yeah, the
as
visual
well.
gag.
But yeah, Tiny Toons definitely has some examples of this, and to varying degrees of effectiveness. I just wanted to hit the highlights, which are strictly from the main Looney Tune franchise.
The main Looney Tunes canon. And one thing I wanted to point out that we both mistakenly thought of, because again, we're thinking of examples,
Oh,
and
yes.
I went right to Alibaba Bunny, and it makes sense with these two examples from Daffy Dilly and from You Were Never Ducky, where it's like money, boom. Daffy is, again, this me personally, this is like I like this Daffy where it's like, obviously I'm thinking of the 60s one. It's too mean. Jones perfected it, but then people like a Flanderization of Daffy, so to speak. But I like this one. He was still Daffy, but he's starting to lean more towards his 50s iteration. But anyway, we both thought of Alibaba Bunny from 1957, another Jones cartoon. Boy, I'm noticing a trend here. And when he finds all the gold, and you hear Milt Franklin or Carl Stalling, I forgot which one did the score. And of course, you hear we're in the money, and he's rubbing his hands together. And I don't know, something like a Mandela effect or whatever. We're both like, yeah, he had something in his eyes, money signs. But when we rewatch it, he had like those extending like half circles.
Like
Obviously,
echoes of
yeah, like an
seeing
echoes of it.
vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
kind of
it,
like whenever you drew Daredevil in the comics and they had
oh,
this is what
okay,
he's
yeah,
sensing. Yeah, it was
yeah.
like that.
So we both were like, yeah, it's no, not quite. So that's let's say that's an honorary mention of the visual gag. So
Well, speaking of money in the eyes, Golden Yeggs has one with Porky Pig, where he's not falling. He is seeing money just manifest in front of him as he uncovers a golden egg under one of his geese, and it just elates him to the point where his eyes get wide and his pupils start turning into different money numbers. So it's like 10, 15, 25, 30 all the way to 50, and he's like, okay, the possibilities are huge. 50 what?
that was
$50,000? I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Euros release, but yeah, I mean, I'll take $50,000 right now, but gladly.
Gladly,
But
yeah,
it
me
was
too.
19.
We got to find a golden egg.
Yeah, golden yegg, and hopefully the inflation will reduce the value. But it was
Yeggs aren't affected by the price of eggs.
But that one was coincidentally in 1950, and we have another example that's not a Jones one. This was by Fritz Freeling.
Yes, exactly. So again, the gag is evolving and swapping directors as a good gag does, as good characters do. Characters went from hand to hand and evolved. So yeah, this gag was really fun to watch that transition from Jones to Tashlin to Frizz, and now you can see it in modern day cartoons such as Boo Appetweet. But before we get there, there were actually some other examples I wanted to pull from Chicken Hawk, the music video featuring Foghorn Leghorn and Henry Hawk. This is a music video where Henry Hawk is singing about wanting to eat chicken, and he looks at Foghorn Leghorn and sees a drumstick in his eyes. In both eyes, he has two drumsticks. And this is just a really great way to showcase that love of, what I'm going to go after, what my intention is, and what my desire is. The apple of his eye, but it's a leg of his eye.
I mean, I do the same thing when I see, like fried chicken as well. I was actually telling my buddy Frankie before we were talking about like food, and I was like, yeah, I do like chicken drumsticks and thighs. I like dark meat more than the white meat. I know white meat's healthier, and maybe I should go and get some fried chicken right now, but it's pretty late. Unless I go to the, one of the spots here, shout out to the Crown Fried Chickens all over New Jersey over here.
Crown Fried Chicken. I
Crown
gotta
Fried
try them.
Chicken. Yeah.
I'm a big white meat fan.
Whenever you come over to the East Coast, I'll treat you. You get like, I don't know, like 8 pieces for like $10 and a biscuit.
Oh, nice. Take that, churches.
Yeah.
Or KFC. Well, speaking of KFC, there's a Foghorn Leghorn plug there where he's like, would you like
an original recipe
or extra crispy
from Space Jam, right? Yeah.
And there's one of these in Space Jam, so that when Lola is introduced to Bugs calls her doll and her eyes go fire. And Bugs, on the other hand, is like oblivious to this and just sees stars, or not hearts. Stars. He sees hearts.
Yeah.
Just as Penelope did in Little Bo Pepe.
Madame, control yourself. Your conduct is unseemly. Control yourself, Madame!
Whenever Pepe Le Pew gets covered in a cologne. So seeing stars or seeing hearts for these characters is also a trend that was very common and shows their lust for something and in a visual way.
I know people, in the comments.
Well, in the comments, let us know if we're missing any, because I know that we're missing some.
There'll be the guys, they'll be pushing up the glasses. We're like, oh, actually, guys, they're short. That I was like, just type it, and, type it, make it short and sweet, and be on your merry way.
Your merry melody way.
You beat me to it.
Merry melody way.
Yeah.
So yeah, the characters are no stranger to heart eyes, and so Penelope, Pussycat, Bugs Bunny, infatuation, visual gag, and there you have it. It is a wonderful way to showcase that in a character, and I love that they implemented that into Space Jam. And I'm wondering why we didn't get one in Space Jam 2, as it is a prominent Looney Tunes gag for these characters. But, there's only time enough for one slew of...
they were too focused on, throwing in every IP under the sun.
Exactly. A lot of HBO Max hawking there.
Oh, yeah, because that wasn't a blatant commercial for HBO Max at all. I actually Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's a really good transition because we had HBO Max also release their own Looney Tunes cartoons, which was from 2020 to 2024. And this included some of my favorite visual sight gags, with Firehouse Frenzy being my absolute favorite, where Daffy is asleep and he lifts up his eyes to try to get to wake up, and his sleepy self is his pupil, and it closes the eyelid back down. I just think that was a really funny way, and Manny, you said you related to that really well. 7 days out of the week.
Yeah, because that's literally what I look like every single day as I wake up, and I think there's like a mini version of me closing my eyelid as well. And I'm looking at it right now, and it's. I just recently did a live stream with our buddy Anthony from Anthony's Animation Talk, and we briefly talked. Good night, mate. There's
congrats on the 10K.
Woo! Or as I guess our new slogan is, muy bueno, mate. But we were talking about, the Ren and Stimpy, Stimpany. That's the new name I came up from on
Stimpany.
the live stream. But the Ren and Stimpy influence on the modern iterations of the Warner Brothers shorts, and it's interesting because, obviously the crew of Ren and Stimpy, especially one particular person I don't feel like talking about, was very heavily influenced by the shorts, and just how things are in a cycle. And like this one where you just see like how messed up and downtrodden, exhausted Daffy is more of like one that I'm like, yeah, that's actually pretty funny because and obviously like SpongeBob did it, and other modern cartoons did those close up gags that they're not gross, but you could definitely tell like there's more like detail, and you're really going for that gag itself of like just like, yeah, he looks like crap. Like there's no other way to describe it, unless you say that's Manny as a duck, and every morning. Um, and it's interesting to like seeing it, how it was depicted there. And I'm trying to remember if there were maybe not so much like that much detail, obviously because of the time period, but like other close-ups in Warner Brothers shorts. Like one I could think of that's not like of that level is Jack Wabbit and the Beanstalk. When you see like the close-up of the giant, and I think like Bugs is walking through his head, but obviously not to the level where it's like, I don't know, you see like his nose hair, and like he's missing a tooth. I know if Bob Clampett had his way, he would have done it. Even though
And
that
you
short
have
was directed by Frizz, but
and you have the close up of Daffy in Duck Amuck, where
oh
it just zooms into his
yes.
extreme close up of his eyes.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
but
you see like the veins, like the bloodshot eyes.
yes,
Yeah, okay, so there you go. I was trying to think. There has to be something that's so. I guess you could say that's like a slight homage to the close up in that the gorgeous looking close up, like just how detailed it is from
but the
Duck Amuck.
grotesque version is definitely in Mummy Dummy, where you see a
Mm,
horrified rabbit in the reflection of the mummy's eyes
yes.
before he gets ripped to shreds, and then he comes out of it and cracks his back and says, "Oh, that feels good." Yeah, so to varying degrees, you get
Yeah.
these gags continued, and then another one of my favorites is the Boo Appa Tweet, which we touched on briefly with another example of we're seeing Tweety in Sylvester's eyes, and then he licks his lips and eye area, and they turn into chicken legs. Yeah, and then lastly, just in the Joe Dante film, Looney Tunes Back in Action from 2003, there was one where Daffy sees the blue monkey and his eyes turn into the blue diamond,
Mm.
and he's like, got to go after that. It's a really great storytelling technique, and it's a really simple thing to do. And maybe if you're a short filmmaker, you want to try it out. And now with technology the way it is, I feel like this is something you could definitely do in live action. And I'm wondering why no one has done it yet.
Yeah, there's the one other example. It's not, I mean, it's from a more modern cartoon, but you were talking about the stars and the hearts and whatever.
Hmm.
Well, the thing too is it's hard to see the scene because you can't get it in an official release. But I don't know if you remember the episode of Rocco's Modern Life, that Rocco goes to like his uncle's ranch or something like that, and Heifer, like he starts hanging out with all the cows and the steer and whatnot. And a little side tangent: Mondo just released these amazing figures of Rocco, Heifer, and Filbert,
Oh, nice.
and my heart says yes and my wallet says no. So
Love Mondo.
just give me a few days of like, yeah, I bit the bullet and I bought the set because I mean, come on, how often do you have Rocco merch? But there was a scene that I did remember seeing as a kid, and of course, where Heifer gets hooked up to a milking machine, and you just see his reactions, and of course Tom Kenny doing an amazing job as Heifer, pre SpongeBob, and just and at the very end, at the only word I can think of is climax of that scene.
Yes.
If you know where I'm going with this, then yeah, just smile and nod politely. And his eyes turn into stars, and he's like, ah, boom. So you can find that scene on YouTube, and I think it's not on any of the official releases, but it's like, yeah, that was Penelope and those other, or like you said in Space Jam with Bugs with the hearts in his eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just the modern recreation of that gag as well. And it's too bad you can't see it on the official release and how it was able to make it to broadcast in the first place. Well, you know, that's why us millennials are so weird, because we saw this back in the day, but it was worth it.
There are a lot of things that we wish can carry on and through, you know, media, through restorations, but you know, we'll take what we can get. Thank you for Warner Archive for keeping the Blu-rays alive, and thank you, Manny, for sending me the latest one, which we'll be doing a review on very soon. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's just every time I pop those in, and I was telling you beforehand, it's like, you know, I'm the kind of person that I want to sit and I don't want to do anything else. You know, oh yeah, I was watching I was binging this new show. I'm like, binging doesn't count when you're like doing your laundry and, you know, and doing, I get it. We're all grown ups. You know, we just want to sit at home and watch cartoons all day in the perfect world, but we can't. But like, and this is also why it takes me a while to watch things, because I'm like, I want to sit, I want to focus on it. If I don't catch something, I'll rewind it. I've been, you know, the new trend now of everybody watching stuff with subtitles. It's like, I've been doing closed captions since the days of yore. So you guys are, I was already ahead of the curve, and they used to drive my dad crazy. So, turn off the closed caption. I hate that stupid thing. And now I'm like, who's laughing now?
Were they captions in Old English? Like,
Oh yeah, you know,
duck goes
ye duck,
traveling.
ye duck, exhausted by blah blah blah. But yeah, just watching, and you know, I have a, you know, decent sized TV. I have a 65-inch 4K TV. I splurge on that one, but just like watching these shorts in the restorations, you know, on my TV, and it's just, I always lament in some ways. And this is actually a nice segue to something that's about to happen soon. But you know, obviously, me, you, and pretty much people all the way going back to, you know, literally my dad's generation, you know, people, because my dad was born in the 50s, but he was the first group of kids to watch it on television, you know, and now to our modern day where you see it on your phones, you see it on streaming, and it's like the rare instances where you get to appreciate these shorts in their original theatrical setting. It's like, it's close, it's not quite there, but it's still, you know, it's still better than, you know, the days of, you know, when we were kids seeing them on those old square televisions. And speaking of theatrical release, I think you know where I'm going with this.
The Space Jam release on May 20th?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yep.
So Space Jam is coming back to theaters May 20th, and next week is also the drop of Looney Tunes cartoons on DVD for the first time ever, and Warner Archive is putting it out on Blu-ray as well. This is a really great time to be a Looney Tunes fan. Are we living in the Lunaissance, as I keep calling it? I don't know. Maybe.
I like that.
And also there was a slight visual gag to Coyote done in the teaser for the trailer Coyote versus Acme, where he licks his lips over the binoculars and it says yum. So less of a extent. I would like to see his pupils turn into the Roadrunner. That'd be really cool, but we never made it. Anyways, Manny, where can people find you online?
So find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that at the Tooney Tenor, TheTooneyTenor. I am, you know, besides being a hardcore Looney Tune fan, I'm a professional musician, and I just like to meld those two worlds. And also, I do a lot of stuff for my buddy Anthony's Animation Talk. So check out his channel. I'm constantly collaborating with him. So if you want to hear more of my Looney musical goodness, you can hear it there.
Excellent. You can follow the podcast over at This Means Podcast or everywhere you get your podcasts. And be sure to comment below with your top 2 Johnny Cage in-universe movies to be included into that giveaway. And be sure to put in the comments if there are any visual gags that do this that we missed in our discussion. I would love to hear from you. So please like, share, subscribe, and all of that stuff, and get the word out, because that's not all, folks.
Oh, that's